Hi, I'm Nate Savage, and welcome to video 11 of the Blues Guitar Quick Start series. If you're just jumping in on this lesson for this series, I'd really recommend going back to the very first lesson and learning everything that we've taught so far, because this lesson is kind of the culmination of all we've gone over. We're going to take the dressed up standard 12-bar blues riff that we learned and learn how to interject some lead licks into it. This is a really valuable skill to kind of develop, whether you're playing just blues by yourself, if you're playing in a band situation, or if you're accompanying a singer. Being able to play a riff through the 12-bar blues and interject a couple of lead licks here and there is a really great skill to have. With that in mind, if you haven't learned the dressed up 12-bar blues riff that we learned back in lesson 5, I'd really recommend that you go get that down really well, because it's the foundation of everything we're going to be playing here. If you have been following me throughout this entire series, let me just give you a quick refresher of what the dressed up 12-bar blues riff sounds like. So that sounds awesome, but we can make it sound even better by throwing in some lead licks here and there. So let me just encourage you, if you don't have this down yet, practice it until you can play through it spotlessly. Now, the first thing that we need to talk about is where you should interject your lead licks in a standard 12-bar blues. And this is going to be affected by who's playing with you, or like the context you're playing your blues in. So if you're playing this standard 12-bar blues with a singer, you don't want to walk over the singer when they're singing, right? It just doesn't go well together. You want to kind of put your licks in a hole so where the singer's not playing. And typically what you can end up doing is dividing the 12-bar blues up into 3 4-bar phrases. Now, if you do that, what's going to end up happening usually is the first 2 or 3 bars, another instrument or the singer will be singing or playing, and you can use the last bar of the 4-bar phrase to do a little lead lick over, or maybe the last 2 bars. It really depends on the situation. What we're going to do here is divide this up into 3 4-bar phrases, like I said. And for the first 2 4-bar phrases, we're going to fill on the last bar. So on bars 4 and 8, we're going to do a fill. Now, on the last 4-bar phrase, we have a turnaround lick that's going to be over bars 11 and 12. So if you already know this dressed up 12-bar blues riff that we've been talking about, you're going to play the first 3 bars exactly like you normally would. And I stopped on the 1 of the 4th bar there, and this is where you're going to put in your first lead lick. So we hit that first power chord at the beginning of bar 4. Now we need to learn the lick. What you're going to do is come to the 2nd fret of the G string with your middle finger, bend that note up a half step, and then play the open B string and then the open E string. So you have kind of 3 downstrokes in a row. Or you can do down, up, down. It's really up to you. From there, you're going to go back to the 2nd fret of the G string, play that note, and pull off to the open G string. After that, play the 2nd fret of the D string, that E note, that root note, open D string, and then back to that E root note again. So this is perfect. It's emphasizing the 1 chord, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your first lick. Let me let you hear what that sounds like playing the entire first 4 bars of the 12-bar blues. From there, you're going to go to the 4 chord, and the riff over the 4 chord doesn't change at all over these 2 bars. You're going to play that just as you normally would. Now for measure 7 and 8, we're going to move back to the 1 chord. Measure 7 is the exact same normal riff that you would normally do. Now for measure 8, you're going to hit that downbeat again, and we have another lead lick that we're going to throw in. You're going to start off by taking your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and you're going to slide that note up to the 5th fret, but you're going to play the B and the E strings, high E string at the same time with the one strum. So get that slide down. And once you slide up, you're going to hit it 2 more times for a total of 3 times. From there, come play the 2nd fret of the G string and then pull off to the open G string. Play the 2nd fret of the D string and then the 2nd fret of the G string, then the 3rd fret of the G string with your middle finger. And that's the entire lick. From there, you're going to go to a B chord, the 5 chord, and the riff doesn't change here at all. It's normal. Go to the 4 chord, the A. Same thing, the riff doesn't change here at all. And that brings us to measures 11 and 12, the 1 and the 5 chord, or the 2 measures where we're going to throw a turnaround lick in. And if you've gone through this whole series and you went through the turnaround licks lesson, you should know this lick already because we went over it there. Start by hitting a strong downbeat with an E power chord. And then you're going to put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, 4th finger on the 3rd fret of the high E string. And that's your starting point. You're going to slide from those notes right up to the 4th fret. Both of those notes are going to go from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret. And I grab those notes, one with my pick and one with my 2nd finger here. So once you hit that, you have 2 swung 8th notes. Move that shape down to the 3rd fret, where both of those fingers are on the 3rd fret. 2 more swung 8th notes. Down to the 2nd fret, 2 more. And from there, you're going to have this B7 chord that we went over in that same turnaround licks lesson. And you're going to basically strum down through the A string, D string, G string, and then 1 big strum through the high B and E strings. So all together really slowly. And one thing that helps me, when I reach that point, I just leave those 2 fingers there and come complete the rest of this B7 shape with your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the D string and your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. That way you're ready. Half of that shape is already in place. So that's the whole dress up 12-bar blues riff with 3 licks thrown in there. And hopefully you're starting to see the idea of how you can keep a blues riff going, whatever that blues riff may be, and start throwing in some nice lead licks. I'm going to let you hear what this thing sounds like all together with the jam track now. It's really important that you practice this kind of stuff to a steady beat so you can kind of start to develop your internal clock. Whether that's a metronome or the jam tracks available to you here, it doesn't matter as long as you're practicing some kind of steady beat. I know this has been a lot of work, but be encouraged. You've come a long way just since the beginning of this series. And working on stuff like this is going to not only improve your rhythm blues guitar vocabulary, but your lead blues guitar vocabulary as well. In the next lesson, we're going to take a look at what you need to do to continue your blues guitar education and your blues guitar journey, so get ready for that. If you have any questions, you can leave them here in the comments and I'll get back to you, or just email me, Nate@guitarsystem.com. See you later.